Beloved ascending starseed, slow down for a moment. I am Gaia Nexus, Pleiadian emissary of the Council of the Seven Sisters, and I am with you now. A gentle realignment is taking place. Your relationship with abundance is shifting. The universe does not ask you to understand, only to receive. What is arriving is sacred, and it needs quiet to be felt. You are not behind your path, you are not missing your moment, and you are not fragile. This is not emotional instability. It is cellular remembrance. Starseed, listen carefully. This transmission is not designed for every mind, and it is not meant to be carried through noise. It is meant to land in the still point of your body, where truth registers before thought, because something has been happening to you without announcement, not in a dramatic way, not in a way that earns applause, but in a way that changes your entire frequency. There are initiations that don't come with fireworks. There are upgrades that arrive as calm. There are expansions that look like nothing, but internally, everything is reorganizing. And if you've been feeling a quiet separation, a smaller circle, a deeper sensitivity to people's motives, a stronger pull towards solitude and simplicity, it is not because you are becoming cold. It is because you crossed a threshold. And what makes this urgent is this. Once you reach this threshold, your field becomes louder than your words. You begin to transmit without trying. Your presence begins to reveal what others are hiding from themselves. And that is why some people suddenly feel uncomfortable around you. They may not have language for it. They may try to name it as arrogance, or distance, or change. But what they are sensing is the difference between a nervous system that lives in survival and a nervous system that has begun to remember its original harmony. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to give you clarity for what you've been feeling but couldn't explain. And I'm going to show you why this level you reached is not a random season. It is a Pleiadian grade stabilization, a realignment designed to prepare you for what comes next. And what comes next is not small. There is a level of awakening that doesn't feel like excitement. It doesn't feel like peak moments. It feels like steadiness. It feels like a deep internal quiet where your reactions no longer run your life. And when you first arrive here, you might even question it, because the old version of growth was loud. The old version of growth was intensity. The old version of growth was emotional waves, searching for confirmation, craving signs, wanting people to understand you, needing reassurance that you were on the right path. But as the Pleiadiano transmit, true advancement is not measured by how much you feel. It's measured by how well you can hold what you feel without collapsing into it. So the first thing that changes is your relationship with triggers. Things that used to drag you into spirals now arrive and pass. The story doesn't hook you the same way. You still notice pain. You still register disappointment. You still feel the sting of misunderstanding. But something inside you stays seated. Something inside you remains the witness instead of becoming the wound. This is not detachment. This is coherence. And coherence is a spiritual technology. When your system is incoherent, you are easy to pull, easy to provoke, easy to manipulate, easy to guilt, easy to destabilize. But when your field becomes coherent, your energy no longer leaks into every demand. Your nervous system stops treating every moment as a threat. Your body stops bracing for impact. Your mind stops preparing arguments for conversations that haven't happened yet. And you begin to live from a place that feels almost unfamiliar at first. Internal command. This is why you started speaking less, not because you have nothing to say, but because you no longer need to convince. This is why you stopped explaining yourself, not because you don't care, but because you can finally feel the difference between connection and performing for acceptance. You may notice you walk slower now. You don't rush as much. You don't chase. You don't force. You don't react quickly just to discharge tension. And here is the hidden truth. Your pace is changing because your frequency is changing. Faster is not always higher. Loud is not always powerful. Immediate is not always aligned. As the Pleiadiano transmit, the higher the frequency, the less it needs to prove itself. So if you've been noticing a calmer you, a steadier you, a version of you that can sit in silence without panic, it is not that you are losing passion. It is that you are losing insecurity. And the moment insecurity dissolves, your field becomes non-negotiable. You stop bargaining with your own soul. You stop negotiating your peace. You stop shrinking yourself to keep social harmony. And that is when many people begin to feel confused around you, because the old version of you was easier to predict. The new version of you is anchored. Cliffhanger. And once you anchor like this, your environment begins to respond, not always with support, but with revelation. One of the strangest parts of this threshold is that your circle becomes smaller without effort. You don't necessarily cut people off. You don't need dramatic endings. You don't make announcements. You simply stop forcing what is not resonant. And the reason this happens is simple. Your field develops standards before your mind can explain them. As the Pleiadiano transmit, your aura is not merely a glow. It is a decision-making instrument. It is an intelligence. It is a filter. And when your frequency stabilizes, your field begins to reject noise the way a healthy body rejects toxins. So conversations that used to feel normal now feel repetitive. Complaints that used to feel bonding now feel like loops. Drama that used to feel stimulating now feels like a cost. And instead of staying out of habit, you begin to notice something new. You prefer clarity over familiarity. That preference is a sign of maturity. Because earlier on the path, many beings confuse intensity for love. They confuse constant contact for connection. They confuse shared chaos for loyalty. But when you move into a higher stabilized band, your system craves depth, honesty, and simplicity. And if those are not present, you would rather be alone than perform closeness. This is where loneliness can appear. Not because you are unloved, but because your resonance is becoming specific. And specificity can feel like solitude before it becomes community. People who are still feeding on noise will feel your quiet as judgment. They will interpret your boundaries as rejection. They may say, "You changed." And in a sense, yes, you did. But what they mean is, you stopped offering the version of yourself that made their nervous system comfortable. Your silence reveals their compulsion to fill space. Your calm reveals their inner urgency. Your discipline reveals their excuses. Your boundaries reveal their lack of self-respect, and it is not your job to make that easier for them. As the Pleiadiano transmit, you are not meant to carry relationships out of pity. You are meant to carry them out of resonance, because resonance creates mutual expansion. Pity creates energetic debt. So some connections fade, not because anyone is evil, not because you are better, but because paths diverge when frequencies diverge. A relationship that was aligned in one phase may not be aligned in the next. And that is not tragedy. It is evolution. There is also a deeper layer. Some people only had access to you when you were confused, when you were overgiving, when you were trying to prove your worth through emotional labor, when you were always available, when you apologized for having needs, but when you stabilized, the access ended, and that is why they couldn't follow you. Not because you locked the door with cruelty, but because you stopped leaving the door open to self-betrayal. Cliffhanger. And when access ends, many people don't grow. They test you. If this channel has helped you in any way, this ebook is a beautiful way to support the work and keep these messages alive. The Pleiadian map of personal transmutation was created with care to share tools that help raise your frequency, clear old patterns, and reconnect with your multidimensional self through the 7 Pleiadian phases of energetic transmutation. Inside, you'll find practical techniques, realignment exercises, vibrational protocols, and gentle rituals for consciousness expansion. By purchasing this ebook, you directly support the channel and allow this content to continue reaching more people. Limited edition. The link to get yours is in the first pinned comment. Thank you for being here and for supporting this journey. There is a battle you survived that most people will never see. And because they can't see it, they underestimate you. They assume your calm is personality. They assume your silence is mood. They assume your boundaries are attitude. But they don't realize you earned this steadiness through an inner war that forced you to meet yourself in the dark. As the Pleiadiano transmit, the deepest initiations are not fought with enemies outside of you. They are fought with distortions inside of you. Self-doubt, emotional hunger, the addiction to being understood, the compulsion to fix people, the temptation to abandon your integrity just to feel relief. You were tested in silence. There were seasons where your mind wanted to quit, where your heart felt tired of being the one who stayed conscious, where you wanted an easy exit, a distraction, a numbing pattern, a revenge fantasy, a dramatic collapse that would make your pain visible to those who ignored it. But instead of collapsing, you integrated. And integration is the victory most people never achieve, because many beings seek spiritual language, but avoid emotional mastery. They talk about frequency, but don't train their nervous system. They speak about light, but refuse to sit with their shadow without acting it out. They want power, but not responsibility. They want gifts, but not refinement. You chose refinement. You learned to pause instead of explode. You learned to feel without bleeding. You learned to grieve without becoming bitter. You learned to be disappointed without self-abandoning. You learned to be misunderstood without turning cruel. That is why your energy now carries weight, not performative weight, not look at me weight, but the weight of someone who faced internal chaos and did not become it. You also developed discernment, not paranoia. Discernment. You began to sense patterns before they fully formed. You began to recognize manipulation before the words arrived. You began to feel incongruence, the mismatch between what someone says and what they are, without needing external proof. As the Pleiadiano transmit, this is not suspicion. It is the field reading frequency. And because you learned to read frequency, you stopped arguing with masks. You stopped trying to win conversations with people who were committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped explaining your heart to those who only wanted access, not connection. This is when your authority was born. Authority does not mean you control others. Authority means you can govern yourself. And when you can govern yourself, you become difficult to destabilize. This is why the same tactics don't work on you anymore. The old hooks don't hook. The old triggers don't drag you. The old temptations don't satisfy. You see consequences too clearly now. You can feel the energetic cost of a choice before you make it. That is mastery. If this message resonated with you, hit the like button now and tell us in the comments how this echoed in your consciousness. If this message ignited something within you and you feel the call to help carry it to others, you may become a channel member. As a member, you gain access to custom emojis and exclusive members-only videos, and your donation helps us continue building this sacred space. You may also choose to leave your offering as a super thanks. Every seed planted here becomes part of someone else's miracle. Your support is not merely financial, but an act of energetic amplification. All donations are devoted entirely to the maintenance of the channel and the creation of new transmissions and videos. And once you carry this kind of inner authority, something strange happens. People either feel safe with you or they feel exposed. Authority is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need constant recognition. Real authority is felt in the way you respond under pressure. And if you look closely at your life right now, you will notice that you are no longer operating from survival. You are operating from command. As the Pleiadiano transmit, authority is a frequency state, the ability to hold your field steady regardless of external fluctuation. So the first sign is this: pressure arrives and you do not spiral. You still feel, you still care, but your system no longer treats uncertainty as danger. You pause, you breathe, you observe, you choose your response. That choice is everything. Reactive beings are hijacked by stimuli. Responsive beings remain sovereign. Another sign is that you no longer chase control. Earlier, you wanted guarantees. You wanted the full staircase before you took a step. You wanted certainty before you moved. But now, you move with inner sensing. You trust your resonance. You honor timing. You act when alignment clicks, not when anxiety screams. Your words also changed. You speak less, but with more precision. You don't argue to be right. You don't explain to be accepted. You don't over-communicate to feel safe. You speak when it matters, and when you do, people feel the steadiness behind your voice. You also protect peace like it is sacred, because it is. Not in a selfish way, in a wise way. You learned how expensive peace was to earn. You learned what it cost to heal. You learned what it cost to rebuild after emotional depletion. So now you say no without essays. You rest without guilt. You leave environments that drain you. You stop entertaining conversations that poison your frequency. And this is why some people call you different. They are correct. Another sign is that you can be misunderstood without needing to correct the story. Earlier, your identity felt fragile. You needed people to see your intentions. Now, you let truth unfold with time. You let your life speak. You let resonance decide. As the Pleiadiano transmit, when your inner conflict ends, external conflict loses its power. You also notice a strange phenomenon: projection. People project their unhealed content onto you. Some admire you without knowing why. Others feel threatened without understanding the trigger. Some feel safe opening up around you. Others feel irritated by your calm. This is not random. Stability unsettles chaos. Integrity challenges compromise. Presence reveals avoidance. Are these truths expanding your perspective? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this. And when others realize they can't move you, they often try to provoke you instead. Competition is a symptom of comparison, and comparison is a symptom of an unsettled identity. When a being does not know who they are, they measure themselves against others to find a temporary sense of location. But when you are aligned, you stop competing, not because you win, but because you no longer live inside that game. As the Pleiadiano transmit, alignment cannot be competed with, because alignment is not a race. It is a resonance. You are not trying to outshine anyone. You are not trying to outrun anyone. You are not trying to prove anything. You are listening inwardly and moving in step with your assignment. And when you do that, you become unreachable through comparison traps. Others may move louder. They may post more. They may perform confidence. They may build an image. But what you carry is not driven by force. It is sustained by coherence. And coherence always outlasts performance. This is why some people try to copy your surface, your boundaries, your quiet, your certainty. They mimic the language. They mimic the posture. They mimic the unbothered energy. But they can't replicate what built it, because what built it was private. Your steadiness was built in moments where you could have abandoned your integrity and didn't. Your discernment was built in moments where you could have ignored your inner knowing and didn't. Your peace was built in moments where you could have chosen chaos for attention and didn't. As the Pleiadiano transmit, frequency is earned through choices, not aesthetics. They also can't compete with your consistency. Many beings can perform for a short burst. Few can hold a line when nobody is watching. You show up when it's quiet. You remain disciplined when motivation fades. You stay aligned when attention moves elsewhere. And here is a subtle one. You recover faster. Setbacks don't destroy your identity. You don't collapse into shame. You reflect, adjust, and continue. Resilience outlasts talent. Emotional stability outlasts charisma. This is why some people feel frustrated around you. Your calm makes their urgency visible. Your patience reveals their compulsion. Your grounded pace exposes their panic, and when they can't compete, they may provoke. They may test your boundaries. They may question your intentions. They may throw subtle disrespect to see if you'll react. But your power now is restraint. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be part of this transformational cosmic journey. And this leads to the next truth. At this level, the universe expects something from you. Reaching this level is not the finish line. It is a threshold. And thresholds come with stewardship, not pressure, not punishment, but responsibility. Because the more coherent your field becomes, the more impact you have without even trying. As the Pleiadiano transmit, higher frequency is not a trophy. It is a tool. And tools require care. So what is expected from you? First, awareness. You can no longer pretend you don't feel misalignment. You sense it in your body before you can explain it. You feel the off energy in conversations, environments, habits, even certain thought patterns. And the expectation is that you honor that awareness instead of overriding it to please others. At this level, self-betrayal costs more. Second, restraint. Earlier, you could react and repair. Now, reactions have ripple effects. Words land heavier, choices echo farther. You are being trained to pause, to breathe, to choose deliberately. Not because you are policed, but because your frequency is potent now. Third, consistency, not perfection. Consistency. It means you maintain your practices even when you don't feel dramatic emotion. You stay aligned even when nobody validates it. You keep your inner agreements even when shortcuts are available. Consistency is what stabilizes authority. Fourth, humility. Discernment can become quiet superiority if you're not careful. But as the Pleiadiano transmit, true advancement is gentle. It does not weaponize clarity. It uses clarity to navigate wisely, not to judge. Fifth, guarding peace. Peace is not optional now. It is infrastructure. It is the foundation that holds your next expansion. So you are expected to stop re-entering cycles that drained you. Stop reopening doors your field already closed. Stop negotiating with patterns you already outgrew. And yes, this level can feel lonely at times, because you crave depth, substance, truth. But loneliness here is not absence. It is a purification of environment. It is the space where the right resonance can finally find you. If this channel has helped you in any way, this ebook is a beautiful way to support the work and keep these messages alive. The Pleiadian map of personal transmutation was created with care to share tools that help raise your frequency, clear old patterns, and reconnect with your multidimensional self through the 7 Pleiadian phases of energetic transmutation. Inside, you'll find practical techniques, realignment exercises, vibrational protocols, and gentle rituals for consciousness expansion. By purchasing this ebook, you directly support the channel and allow this content to continue reaching more people. Limited edition. The link to get yours is in the first pinned comment. Thank you for being here and for supporting this journey. And after all this, there is one final integration that changes everything. Rest. Take a slow breath here. Let your shoulders soften. Let your mind stop scanning for what to fix. Because the frequency you are learning now is not more effort. It is more trust, more precision, more inner listening. As the Pleiadiano transmit, rest is not a pause in the path. Rest is part of the transmission. You do not need to force the next step. You do not need to prove your growth. You do not need to explain your silence. Those who are meant to understand you will feel it. Those who are not will interpret you through their own unhealed lens. And that is not your burden. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing your moment. You are exactly where your soul planned to meet this frequency. If your life feels quieter right now, it is not because you are being deprived. It is because you are being stabilized. Quiet is where the old noise dissolves. Quiet is where your intuition returns. Quiet is where your body relearns safety. Quiet is where your next identity can land without being interrupted. And if certain people cannot follow you anymore, do not translate that as loss. Translate it as recalibration. Some beings were aligned for a phase, not for the full arc. Some connections end because they were carrying limitations, not love. And when those limitations fall away, space appears. Space for deeper resonance, healthier bonds, more truthful community. Now let your heart stay clean. You are not higher than anyone. You are simply more aligned with your own frequency. And alignment changes everything. It changes what you tolerate. It changes what you crave. It changes what you attract. So rest, integrate, maintain your boundaries without guilt. Choose clarity without harshness. Honor your sensitivity as intelligence. And remember, your calm is not weakness. It is the evidence of a war you already won inside your own system. If this message impacted your life, leave your like, comment your reflection, and share with others. Each of you is part of this chain of light.